Hello and welcome to Workshop 4 Excel 2010, brought to you by Shiftkey Solutions, and I am Eric Ripley. What you're looking at right now is the completed workshop for Workshop 4. In this workshop we'll be working with things such as creating a list or a drop-down list here, along with some VLOOKUP formulas, and some data validation, and some additional data validation, and then some simple formulas working with dates, chronological orders. Also, we're going to be working with some more simple formulas, chronological formulas. This is a formula working with time frames, doing mathematical equations with time. We'll cover that, and we'll also cover a if formula, or I should say a formula with the if function in it, and then some additional simple formulas here in creating this timesheet here. Okay, let's get started. In Workshop 4 there are 35 steps to be covered. In this video tutorial I will be covering each and every one of those steps. Step 1 tells us to download the Workshop 4 Excel 2010 Excel workbook along with the SW Garden logo file, and then open the workbook as we have here. This is what we're looking at. This is the raw worksheet. Step 2 tells us to save the file with our first and last name at the end of the file name. And I've done that already. If we look in my title bar here, I can see my name here at the end of the file. Step 3 tells me to save file name in bottom left footer and the current date in the bottom right footer. Well, in order to do that, I'm going to go to my Insert tab. I'm going to come over to my text group and click Header Footer. From here I'm going to click Go to Footer, and then I'm going to click on the left side and go to File Name, and click on the right side and click Current Date. When I'm finished, I'll click in the cell just above here and then go to Normal View and then scroll up. There's my worksheet. Now, to verify that I inserted the footer correctly, I'm going to go to Print Preview. When I go to Print Preview, I can see here's my left footer and here's my right footer, file name and current date. When I'm done, I'm going to click on the Home tab, take me back to my worksheet. Step 4 tells me on the time card worksheet, adjust row height of row 1 to 80. So I'm going to come down here to my worksheets, click on time card, and go to the first row here, and I'm going to right click on row header 1 and then go down to row height, type in 80 and click OK. That increases the row height. Step 5 tells me to insert the SW Gardens logo. So I'm going to go to my Insert tab, come to my Illusions group, and then I'm going to click on Picture. And then I'm going to select the picture and then click Insert. And there's my logo. Step 6 tells me to adjust the size of the logo to cover A1 through D2. So I'm going to grab the bottom right corner here, click and drag till I get to the D column, and I'm roughly there. There it goes. I'm over to D2 right here. Step 7 tells me to merge and center A3 through F3. So I'm going to select that range, A3 through F3, and then I'm going to merge and center. Now, just as a reminder, I can just simply click merge and center, or I can click my drop down arrow and look at my choices here. Merge and center does just that. It will merge the cells selected and then center the contents. Whereas merge across will merge the cells selected but not adjust the alignment whatsoever. Merge cells does exactly the same thing as merge across. That's just a reminder. I'm going to click merge and center, and there's my completed task. Step 8 tells me to go to pay rate worksheet. So I'm going to come down to the pay rate worksheet, and then I'm going to select A6 and then sort A to Z, which means I'm going to end up sorting these alphabetically, A to Z, which of course is ascending order. So once I have A6 selected, I'm going to come over to my editing group, click sort and filter, and here's A to Z. And you can see that this gets adjusted and sorted. Step 9 tells me to select the range A6 through C10 and give it a name of pay rates. Well, what we're doing is naming a range. So I'm going to select my range A6 to C10, and I'm going to name this range. Now there's two basic ways of doing this. The way I like to do it, which is really quick and easy, I'm going to come to my name box here, click inside there, and type in pay rate. And I have to be sure to include the underscore. That indicates a blank space. Once I type in pay rates, I'll press enter. And now this has the name. This entire range has the name pay rate. If I deselect and go back to A6, that'll go away. But the way I can verify that I named this range is I click my drop down arrow here, and there it is. I can click it and it will select that range. Step 10 tells me go to the time card worksheet and enter Aurelius Vicky in cell B6. So I'm going to come down to my time card, go to B6 and type in Aurelius Vicky. Step 11 tells us to go to cell B7 and enter a VLOOKUP formula. You know, traditionally, if we wanted to reference whoever's name is in this cell and display what their title is here, well, we would have to look in this name range and see what their name is and perhaps write it down if it's a long list of names that we want to reference. Otherwise, memorize it, Vicky, Aurelius. We would have to come over to our table that this information is in here and look in the column for names and find the name Vicky, and here's Vicky. Come over to the title column and find the title as to what Vicky is, co-host. From there we would have to come back to our area we want to display this in, and then type in the title area co-host. Well, there's a simple formula that we can type in that will do all of this work for us. Anytime we type a name in here, it'll display automatically what their title is, and then eventually what their pay rate is. Because if we go back to the pay rate table here, we can see that we have name, title, and hourly rate. So if we come back to here and we go to cell B7 and type in this formula, I'm going to type in equals VLOOKUP, and there it is. As I start typing, it automatically brings up the function for me. I can press tab and accepts that format of that particular function, and then the first thing it's looking for is the lookup value. Well, what am I looking up? Well, I'm going to look up whatever this name is here. So I'm going to say, I'm going to reference to cell B6. So I'm going to type in B6. Now, what I also want to make sure of, because I'm going to use this formula down below here, so I want to absolute reference cell B6. So I'm going to press F4, and it absolutes that cell reference. Then I'll put comma, and it's asking what table array do I want to reference or look in. Well, I want to look in pay rates table array, because if I remember correctly, we just named that range pay rates. So I'm going to type that in, pay rates, and remembering the underscore. Okay, and see, as I start typing, it automatically appears there. I can press tab, it accepts it, and then I'll put comma, and it says column index number. What column index number means is I want to reference what information do I want to pull from that table array in from which column, and it's going to be the second column. I'll type 2 and then in the formula and then press enter. And there it is. It does exactly what we were doing manually, but automatically does it for us now. The second part of step 11 tells us to enter in cell B6. We're going to type in Tang Davis. and then press tab, and you'll notice that it changes this also, because of course Davis is a video journalist, their title is. Step 12 tells me to fill down the formula that's in B7 down to B8. Once I fill that down, I'm going to change the column reference from 2 to 3. So let's fill this down, and if I fill it down and leave it like that, it's pulling the information from the second column. Well, I'm going to come to my formula bar here and change my 2 to 3 and then press tab. And you'll see it changes that for me. Step 13 tells me to format cell B8 to a comma style. So I have it selected. I'm going to come to my number group and click comma. Step 14 tells me to widen column B to 13.5. So I'm going to right click on the column header B, go to column width, and type in 13.5. Press enter, and I'm all done. Step 15 tells me that on the time card worksheet I want to type in 1/4/09 to represent a date. So let's type that in. And then I'll press tab, and that's a date in there. Step 16 tells me to go to cell B12 here and enter in some simple formulas that'll calculate what the date is for Monday if this date is Sunday. Well, we happen to know that. If we're typing this in, we will have known that this date is Sunday. So I want to add the next day, which is Monday. So I'm going to put in a formula here called, it's going to be a simple addition. It's going to be equals B9 plus 1. And so I go from the 4th to the 5th. Now here in cell B13, I'm going to type in equals B12 plus 1. Now from here I can use the magic fill handle here, fill it down to Friday, and now all of my dates are entered. Step 17 tells me to merge across cells B6 through C6, B9 through C9. So I'm going to select these ranges, B6 to C6, and then I'm going to press Control and click B9 and C9. I click and drag there. Once I have those ranges selected, I'm going to come up to my Merge and Center and click my drop down arrow, and there's my merge across. If I click that, it merges those cells now. If I go back to select these cells, I can see it's now one cell. Step 18 tells me to format cell B9 with a date of March 14th, 2001 and align it to the left. Well, March 14th, 2001 is a format style. To find that, I'm going to come to my number group and click my dialog box launcher. And when I do, I see that I have dates selected automatically because I'm on a cell that has a date format in it. From here, I'm going to go in the type window and scroll down a little bit until I find March 14th, 2001. Now before I click OK, I'm going to come to my alignment tab, and here under horizontally, click the drop down and choose left. And then click OK, and I'm all done. Step 19 tells me to fill color green accent 3 lighter 60%. Two cells B6, B9, C12 through F16. So let me select these ranges. I'm going to select B6, B9, and then the range C12 through F16. Once I have them all selected, I'm going to come to my fill color drop down and come over to green accent 3 lighter 60. Click this and then deselect, and I can see that that is now that color. Step 20 tells us to copy the range A4 through E21 from sheet 3. So let's go over to sheet 3, select the range A4 through E21, and then I'm going to right click on it and choose copy, and I get the marquee going around that area. I'm going to come back to my time card worksheet, and I'm going to go to J3, and it tells me to paste that range I just selected to the range of J3 through N20. Well, quite frankly, I don't have to have this selected. I simply have to go to the first cell in the range. Once I'm in this first cell in the range, I'm going to right click and choose paste. Paste values. When I paste it, it fills the range it should be in. The next step is to move the range J19 through N20 to the left one cell, basically I19. So I'm going to click the border and drag it to the left. And that was easy. The next step is to format I20 through M20 with bold, bottom border, center, middle alignment, and text wrapping. So I'm going to select this range, come to bold, bottom border. I'm going to click my drop down arrow here, and there's my bottom border. Center, middle align, and text wrap. It tells me to merge and center I19 through M19. So I'm going to merge and center this, and then I'm going to bold it. It's that simple. Step 21 tells us to widen columns J and K on the time card worksheet. So I'm going to select J and K and widen this to 18. So I'm going to right click on the header, go to column width, and type in 18. Then press enter, and it widens that area for me. It goes on to tell me to copy the logo in cell A1 to cell J1. So I'm going to select this, and one of my little tricks I like to do is once it's selected, I'm going to press Control, and I'm going to click and drag this over to J1. It's that simple. Once I have it in this location, I'm going to modify the borders here until it extends over to L2. Well, I can see it's already down to 2, so I'm going to drag this over to the right a little bit, and there it is. Step 22 tells me to merge and center cells J3 through L3. So I'm going to select J3 through L3 and merge and center. The next step is to bold J3, J4, and J6 through J9. So I'm going to select these ranges first. J3, J4, J6 through J9. Once I have them all selected, I can simply click bold. Step 23 tells us to type equals B6 in cell K6. So I'm going to type equals B6 and then fill down this formula down to K8. And what I'm doing is pulling over this information over to this side. When I'm done, I'll click to deselect. The second part is to go to K9 and type in equals L17. And I'll press tab. Now, I will point out one thing, that this formula here, it's referencing nothing right now. Well, in a moment when we're finished, there will be information here that will populate in here for us. Step 24 tells us to format cells K8 through K9 as a comma style. So I'll select this range and choose comma style. And then in K12, I'm going to type a simple formula of equals B12. And then fill this down to K16. After I fill this down, I want to format this range with the same format I used for B9, which is going to be March 14th, 2001 format and align to the left. I have this selected, and I'm going to go to my number group here, click my drop down. I have date already selected. I'm going to scroll down until I find March 14th. And after I do this, I'm going to go to my alignment tab, change my horizontal to left, and then click OK. And now it's formatted. It goes on to say in cell K4, I'm going to type in equals K16. And that pulls out the week ending date. So I'll press tab, and there's that date. Step 25 tells us to copy the format in A11 using our format painter and apply it over to J11 through L11. Click the deselect, and now it's finished. It goes on to tell us, the second part, to go to J17 and apply the bold, italic, and center format. So we'll go bold, italic, and center format. Step 26 tells us to enter the following table of information beginning in cell C12. So I'll go to cell C12 and I'll begin to enter this information. 7 a.m. tab. Step 27 tells us to create a formula that will determine the total hours worked. Well, this is going to be a little involved. We're going to go to cell L12 and do some calculations with these times. So I'm going to type in equal, and then I'm going to do two open parentheses here because I'll have two close parenthesis formulas within this. The first one is going to be D12 minus C12 close parentheses plus open parentheses F12 minus E12 close parentheses times, we're going to multiply this by 24. Now what this formula means is quite simply this first part here, D12 minus C12, we have to subtract the ending time from the start time. If we were to do this reverse order, start minus start time from the ending time, well, that doesn't make sense. It's not logical order. You can't subtract the starting time from the ending time. When you're working with times, you have to start with an ending time and subtract that from the start time. Therefore, you'll come up with a number. Once this equation comes up with its number, it's going to do this equation here, which is add whatever this number comes up with, and then take these two numbers and add them together and come up with a number down here, whatever that is, and then multiply that by 24, which there are 24 hours in the day. When we're done with this formula, I'm going to press tab. It goes on to tell us to fill this formula down to L16. So I'm going to grab my fill handle here and fill this down, and it'll coincide with the formula to its left. It goes on to tell us in L17 we're going to do a auto sum formula to calculate the numbers above us. So I'm going to come to my editing group and click auto sum. Auto sum says, is this the area you want to calculate? And yes it is, so I'll just simply press enter, and it comes up with the total of numbers there for us. The last part of step 27 is to format L17 to be bold and a top and double bottom border. So I'm going to click my borders drop down and go to top and double bottom border. Deselect it. Step 28 tells us in cell I21 enter a formula for regular hours. It's an if formula. In cell J21 type in a simple formula. In cell K21 yet another simple formula to determine regular pay, and then go on to do a overtime pay and a gross pay formula. So let's go to cell I21 and we're going to do a very simple if formula. We're going to do equals if, I'll press tab, if L17 is greater than or equal to 40, then 40, or otherwise just display whatever's in L17. so I have 40 there. For the overtime hours, it's going to be even simpler. It's going to be equals L17 minus I21. Regular pay is going to be equally as easy. It's going to be equal sign I21 times K8. Up here, K8 for for pay rate, and then press tab. Now it goes on to tell us to do some formatting at this point. I'm going to select the range I21 through J21 and format this with a comma style. I'm going to select K21 through L21 and apply a counting format. It goes on to say that in cell L21 we're going to do a simple formula to account for the overtime pay, which is going to be equal sign whatever's in J21 times, open parentheses, it's going to be pay rate, which is K8, times 1.5 times. That's what overtime usually is, 1.5 times. So close that out, press tab, that's the overtime. The gross pay is a super simple formula, K21, which is regular pay, plus overtime pay, which is L21. Step 30 goes on to talk about data validation. There's a little bit of text in there explaining data validation or validating the form and the three types of data validations, which are setting, input, message, and error alerts. Well, I won't bore you with that. But the step goes on to tell us to select B9. So we're going to come here to cell B9, and we're going to do some data validations to this. We're going to go to our data tab, and over in the data tools group, I'm going to click the data validation button. When I do, I get my data validation dialog box. In this case, I'm going to go to my input message tab, and in the title here, I'm going to type date of payroll. I'm going to press tab, and in the input message, I'm going to type. When I'm all done typing, I'm going to come over and click OK, and making sure that the show input message when cell selected is selected, and then click OK, and there's my message box. Now this step goes on to tell us to move this message box to the range of C4 through E10. C4 here through E10 down here. Well, you might think, well, how the heck do I move this? You simply put your cursor on it, click and drag, and drop it in that area, in that range. So whenever this cell is selected, this is going to display. If I click off, it's gone. If I click this, it's back. Now, something to keep in mind, that any other validation message that you enter in anything else, and we will enter one here, it will also display there. Step 31 tells us to select cell C12 and enter a data validation. The data validation is as follows. We're going to go to our data tab, data tools group, and click data validation button. From here, I'm going to click on my settings tab, and then I'm going to click my drop down arrow for allow and choose time. So only time will be allowed in this cell. Make sure that it says between, and down here I'm going to click in 6 a.m. that is, type that in. I'm going to press tab and put in 10 p.m. When I'm finished with that, I'm going to click my input message tab, click in the title text box, and for the title of this we're going to put in starting time. Press tab, and in the input message text box, we're going to type the following information. When I'm finished typing the input message, I'm going to go to my error alert tab. I'm going to make sure that the checkbox is selected and the style stop is selected, and the title of this I'm going to put in time not valid. press tab, and here's my error message that will display to the user when they put something in wrong. It is as follows. When I'm all done typing that, I'm going to make sure everything's correct and then click OK, and there's my data validation. Now to test this, to see that if I did it right, here in cell C12 I'm going to type in 4 a.m. and then press tab. Oop, look at that. There's my error message, there's my title, time not valid, and here's what's telling me, the user, what to do. So if I want to retry it, I'll click retry and it'll allow me to type it in again. So let me say I put in 5 a.m. because I didn't read it closely or whatever the reason. Press tab. Nope, that's still wrong. Well, if I want to give up, I'll just simply click cancel and then it'll take it back to the original. Step 32 tells us to delete the content in cell B6, B9, C12 through F16. So I'm going to select these ranges, B6, B9, and then the range C12 through F16. With that selected, I'll press delete, and it'll remove that information, pardon me. As you can see, it did remove it, and these are all not available. But my data validation remains there and here, as you can see with the message. The next part of our worksheet is to create a drop-down list here for cell B6. Well, before we can do the drop-down list here, we have to do a few steps. So step 33 tells us to go to the pay rates worksheet, select this range A5 through A10. Then I'm going to go to my formulas tab, and over here in the defined names group I'm going to click create from selection, and I'm going to make sure that the top row checkbox is selected. Click OK, and then I'm done with that. From here I'll go back to my time card worksheet. Here in cell B6 I'm going to go back to my data tab, validation, and from here I'm going to go to settings, and in the allowed, click this drop down, choose list, and in the list source I'm going to type in equal name and then click OK. Now after I type that in, here's my drop down arrow. I'll click this and look at that. There's a list of names. Now this list is short only because the list it's referring to is short. It could very well be hundreds or thousands of names to choose from. So as we can see, the title and the pay rate, this is all blank right now. So is some information over here until I choose one of these people. From here I want to test this out. So let's choose Philip here. When I click Philip, it populates this information for us. Okay. And now we're nearing the end. Our last step of the worksheet, step 35, it tells us to change the orientation of our worksheet to landscape. So I'm going to go to my page layout tab. Here's my orientation, and here's landscape. Now there's some things not included in the worksheet that we should really do in real life, and that is go to our page setup dialog box here, and if we here in the page tab, we need to change this to fit to. It always keeps it nice and clean. If I click fit to and then go to print preview, I can clearly see that it fits all in one sheet. Oh, and it looks like I forgot my footers. So let me go to my insert tab, header footer, go to footers, left side, file name, right side, current date, close this out, normal view. Now let's take a look in print preview. Okay, there they are. Okay, thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon. Take care.